Hello, I'm here today with Kiran and Brian, longtime members of the Intellectual Property Constituency, or IPC for short. And today they're going to tell us a little bit about the IPC and some of its issues, as well as how they got here to ICANN. So, without further ado, Brian, tell me about the Intellectual Property Constituency. Where does it sit within ICANN structures, and what's its general role and remit?
Sure, Mary. We are part of the Generic Name Services Organization, or the GNSO, and we sit within the commercial stakeholder group, and we represent all varieties of intellectual property rights holder interests, which include trademarks, copyright, and other intellectual property interests. We have 2 counselors that we elect to the GNSO Council, so that's how we are represented at the policy development process at the GNSO Council table.
And Kiran, so in terms of some of the issues that the IPC has been working on as a part of the generic name supporting organization and within the commercial stakeholder group, can you tell us a little bit about some of those issues and topics that the IPC generally focuses on?
Sure. Well, the Intellectual Property Constituency really focuses on issues that are related to brand and consumer interests. So we're especially interested in those policies within ICANN that serve the protection of consumers and brands online. So for example, we seek to preserve and continue access to WHOIS information and the accuracy of the underlying data. We seek to make sure to develop policies that are related to rights protection mechanisms such as the Trademark Clearinghouse and sunrise policies, making sure that new GTLD policies are fair and balanced for trademark owners to protect their rights online, which in turn protect consumers that are doing business on the internet.
That's quite a list. Brian, do you have others to add to this?
As Kiran mentioned, we're really interested in making sure consumers are protected on the internet. We're very engaged right now in the work that's ongoing with the GDPR compliance and making sure that WHOIS data is accessible to not only intellectual property rights owners, but also to law enforcement and government so they can do their work to help protect consumers. Excellent.
So given that the IPC, Intellectual Property Constituency, seems to be involved in quite a lot of policy work, ranging from WHOIS to protecting trademark rights, tell me a little bit about your members. Give me an overview of the membership structure. Who actually is a member of the IPC?
Sure, Mary. We are made up of individuals, businesses, and organizations. Our membership categories are divided up between international organizations, domestic and regional organizations, and individuals, and we welcome membership from anyone who has strong intellectual property interests and who are looking to help represent those interests in the intersection of the DNS and the policy work that's done here at ICANN.
Do you have a sense, and maybe this I'll ask Kiran, of the organizational members and the individual members? Because you do have 2 types of members. In terms of proportion, how many of each, and what types of organizations would be your members?
Sure. So we have about 200 members total, organizations, individuals, and companies. The organizations are necessarily a smaller group because there are fewer organizations out there than individuals that are interested in and dedicated to intellectual property. However, our members are huge, like the International Trademark Association, the International Anti-Counterfeiting Coalition, just to name a few, and they respectively have thousands of members within their organizations. And so the way that it's structured, the organizational members make up the Intellectual Property Constituency Council, and they actually, on behalf of their members, have a greater say in IPC policies and voting. We don't vote a lot, but they are sort of the leaders of the IPC. But we have a significant number of more significant number of individuals and companies, and they each have an individual voice within the IPC as well. And I find that the 2 groups work very collaboratively together, and the membership is often crosses. So you might be a member of the IPC and a member of the International Trademark Association, for example. And so everybody works really well together and very collaboratively within the IPC.
So it sounds like I don't have to become a trademark lawyer to join the IPC, and that I could join as an individual, subject to your rules, of course, or if I'm a member of, say, the International Trademark Association to represent my interests here. Tell us a little bit about how the two of you got here to ICANN and became such active members of the IPC. And as part of that story, maybe you could give us some advice to newcomers who might want to join the IPC or just generally newcomers to ICANN. Brian?
Sure, Mary. I'm happy to start that. And my answer actually dovetails nicely with the point that Kiran just made about membership overlapping. I actually was introduced to ICANN through my work on the Internet Committee for the International Trademark Association. I was a volunteer that was assigned to the subcommittee of the larger Internet Committee that's all things ICANN. And I was actually on the subcommittee of Christina Rosette, who's a very long-time active member here at ICANN, and she sort of took me under her wing, and I started drafting comment sets, and I was actually able to do quite a bit of work before I ever even stepped foot in an ICANN meeting. I started volunteering and doing work to support the policy work here at ICANN in 2005, and I didn't actually attend my first meeting until Mexico City until 2009. So I would really encourage newcomers to jump in, volunteer, get engaged. Don't let your geographic situation or your inability to potentially travel to a meeting stop you from getting involved. Start volunteering. I think the best way to learn ICANN, it's obviously very challenging. I think what people don't realize is it's very challenging for people who've been here a long time. There's so many issues going on. It's so hard to keep up with all the information coming out. You never really totally lose that feeling, so don't be intimidated by that. Jump in, roll up your sleeves, work hard, and also look for opportunities for funding to come to meetings if you don't have your own funds, so that you can actually get here and be on the ground.
Thank you. And Kiran, your story and your advice.
Good. It's very similar to Brian. So I was introduced to ICANN as a brand new associate at a law firm that had a long time member of the IPC as my managing partner. And he had a number of clients that were interested in the new GTLD program, which was being developed at that time. So that was 2011. And I attended my first meeting in 2012, Costa Rica, and found some really great mentors on the ground here, including Brian Winterfeldt and J. Scott Evans, a longtime IPC, now BC member. Christina Rosette was also a mentor of mine, so she has brought so many people in. I was able to just learn more and more based on what the client's interests were, and I really understood how deeply all of these issues, all of them, even the technical issues that we might not have sort of naturally gravitated towards as lawyers, how deeply they impact brand owners and consumers. And that's sort of my passion with trademark law, is how it affects consumer interests. So the deeper you get involved, the deeper you are. So yeah, and you'll stay, because it's really interesting stuff. And you're right, you do not have to be an attorney. In fact, we welcome the unique voice that intellectual property and consumer advocates bring to the IPC when they're not attorneys. And so, any interest in these issues and how it affects consumers and end users, just start learning and just start attending working group calls, volunteering for comments. Don't be shy. And you'll be so surprised how quickly you learn and how interesting it becomes and relevant to your daily life and the way you use the internet. And I guarantee you'll stick around for a long time.
Thank you to both of you. It sounds like the best advice for newcomers is just jump in. Don't feel you have to be a full expert, because you're going to find a lot of mentors, and you're going to certainly have a very interesting and educational experience. So thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Brian, for your time.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.